Red alert! Red alert! Andy is coming upstairs!
Oh, hey, how's it going? Plastic Commander here. Don't mind me. I was just reading this biography that got written about me on some of my greater achievements earlier in life. But enough of that. Say, you know what this 4th of July made me think of? My God, no. No, it didn't. Nothing like that at all. No, it didn't make me think anything like that. In fact, I can't believe you had that idea come into your head. That's really concerning, and quite honestly, I think you should seek some professional help for having ideas like that. But that's just my opinion, though. No, this 4th of July made me think of one thing, and that was M80 firecrackers, the classic American firework. And those M80 firecrackers made me think of another thing: blowing up toy army dudes. Is there a greater American pastime for people between the ages of 5 and 15 instead of blowing up toy army dudes with an M80 firecracker? That's what I did between those years, up until I got a little older and I downloaded Grindr. Then I just started blowing. But no, today we're going to look at the top 5 most useless army men and why they were some of the first ones that I personally sit to get blown up with some fireworks. Whether it's just because they were plain useless and I never touched them, or whether I just wanted to commit a war crime. You know, sometimes you just want to commit a war crime. Am I right? So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, first up on our list is going to be anyone carrying a... So starting to count down at number 5, we have anyone carrying a flag. So these guys have to be the least practical soldiers on the battlefield. I mean, come on. In a way, you really have to feel bad for them, because most of the time they were usually at the front, so they're a very easy target. Really, their only purpose is to just create morale, but really, they're usually the first guy to get shot. Here's a vintage Marks Japanese soldier. The only reason these guys are kind of high up on the list is just because they're really stinking cool. Like, if you're just setting up a diorama when you're a kid, or you want to give your troops some extra morale by waving the flag that they're most proud about, hopefully not this one, then there you go. They look real cool doing it. I mean, look at this Marks figure. My heart just swells with pride whenever I see a rising sun, honestly. Really makes me sad that we lost a war. But yeah, flag guys, they look really cool. I don't have any negative feelings for them. They're just kind of not super practical, like the kid playing the flute or the little drummer boy, you know, just other people that I want to shoot on a battlefield and blow up with fireworks. In the back here, you can see I have the BMC raising the flag at Iwo Jima, which came with their Bag Marine set, or if you actually had the Iwo Jima playset that they released. And it's really cool. Don't know why it takes 5 guys to raise one flag, though. Like, I mean, come on. Really? It's the laziest generation. Honestly. So yeah, number 5, anyone holding a flag. So up next at number 4, we're gonna have the weird-looking, arms spread out Timmy Guy. And there's a reason this guy looks like this, believe it or not. I always talk to people who had army men when they were kids, and they always ask me, Clay, what was this guy supposed to be doing? Which usually that question comes after a long line of other questions like, what have you done with your life? Why haven't you gone back to college? Why did you spend $200 this month on Toy Army Men? You know, just silly questions that really just answer themselves if you think about them hard enough. But anyway, this guy was supposed to be throwing a grenade. If you saw in the last episode, we had a couple of those grenade figures. Well, actually just one. I was too depressed to pull out anymore. But the mold probably broke a long time ago, and they just kind of cobbled together a hand to replace it. So it created this really awkward looking dude. The reason he's kind of high up on the list is just because he plays a really good dead person. Like, that's probably what this guy is best used for. Or maybe if you put a bazooka man in front of him, have him reload the missiles into the bazooka. Oh man, look at this hand. That doesn't really look like a hand. It looks like a webbed hand. You know, I dated a girl with a web hand a long time ago. It didn't last too long. I couldn't get through second base without vomiting. But anyway, the weird looking Timmy dude, too bad he doesn't get made with the grenade anymore. Not treated fairly, I will give him that. So, weird looking Timmy guy, number 4. And our number 3 spot on this list is going to be the R2-D2 Astromech from Galaxy Laser Team, or at least the knockoff R2-D2. So, not a whole lot to say about this guy, but there is a lot to say about where he comes from. Galaxy Laser Team was a line released by Timmy, and this is the number 2 of 3 Timmy figures that are on this list. So, Timmy got a lot of sins you gotta correct, but don't worry, I know how you feel. So, Galaxy Laser Team was released in the 1970s, around the same time as Star Wars Episode 4 was, and basically, these were just knockoff Star Wars toys. They were just riding the high of Episode 4, the rest of the original trilogy. On screen now, we see a few different Galaxy Laser Team figures. They made them in a variety of different colors. Pink and white are definitely vintage. Those do not get made anymore, so if you find any in those 2 colors, they are worth a little bit more than the average figure, just for their rarity. They do get remade by Victory Buy and BMC, as you can see on the screen here. You can find them on Amazon for about $15, and they're also made in 6-inch figures as well. You can tell just by looking at the other figures that are in this line. Like, for instance, there's a figure in the line, and I'll have a picture up here in a second, but there's a figure that has like a blaster, and he's real furry looking, and it's obviously Harrison Ford. Yeah, not a whole lot to say other than these guys kind of look like a radiator you would find at a cheap motel when you meet up with that grinder hookup that you're anticipating after you finish making your YouTube video about Army Men. So, in fact, right here, I have an actual Astromech figure from the Star Wars Command line, which I'll be doing a video on later. And if you put the 2 together, yeah, this looks way better. There's just not a whole lot to say, and I can't really see a whole lot of kids who were really crazy about this figure. So, while we're talking about Galaxy Laser Team, I think it's important to talk about another figure in the set. This is a bonus figure that's also kind of useless, and that's this guy. Like, look at him. I can't believe this is how Timmy would portray Luke Skywalker. I mean, it's all honestly kind of offensive. I have one in green here, too. Like, just look at him. He looks like he's just surrendering, and I didn't notice this before, but he has claws. Let's see. He has a shell for a body, the tail of a alligator, antennas like an ant, claws for hands, and the face of Mitch McConnell. This is honestly kind of an offensive figure, if you ask me. And also, it's equally as useless. It just looks like a surrendering alien, which, you know, maybe that's what they were going for. So, number 3, Galaxy Laser Team, the Radiator, and the creepy turtle Clawman. So, the number 2 spot is going to have to go to one of the worst army men of all time, General Mark Clark. Mark Clark was the American general that was over the American invasion of Italy during the Second World War, and he is highly accredited to the reason that that campaign went so poorly. He constantly would throw his men into battles that were pretty much senseless, and whenever he was equally matched with the Germans almost always prevailed. He would slaughter his men senselessly, send them against fortifications that were damn near impossible to take, and because of this, he had a lot of resentment towards him. Definitely one of those generals that moved up due to the circumstances of the war and not due to any actual skill. So, number 2, Mark Clark. And finally, for most useless army guy at the number 1 spot is the Timmy Minesweeper. I mean, come on. Now, don't get me wrong, the Minesweeper is a very important unit on the field. It's very important to go through an area that may be in hostile territory and make sure that there's no mines that will absolutely ruin your convoy and your day. He has a very important job, but when you were playing Toy Army Men, did you stop to think, hey, this time I'm going to use the Minesweeper guy, okay? I'm going to have some tanks that are going to be rolling down the road, and then bam, one's going to get blown up, and they're going to have to send the Minesweeper out, and then the Sergeant Major is going to scream at the Minesweeper, why didn't you come through this area sooner? Look at these guys. Look, that's an 18-year-old kid. He blew up in that Humvee, and now he's dead. Are you going to write the letter to his mother? Are you, huh? Are you? So, no, you never thought that. You never thought about using the Minesweeper guy ever. He sat at the bottom of your army men bucket forever and ever and ever. And then you were like, hey, I got some army men I want to blow up with some M80 firecrackers. And this was the first guy to go. I can assure you that's what happened. So, the Minesweeper, probably the most useless in the Timmy set, and probably the most least used army men in general, if I had to take a shot in the dark. But before I end the number 1 spot, I want to talk about a few of the figures on the table. Right here, you may recognize this guy. This is from the Thinkway Toys Bucket of Soldiers bucket that they released for Toy Story. And I think it's funny that Thinkway Toys made a Bucket of Soldiers based off the movie, because like in the last video I talked about, that bucket was based on a pre-existing product. Like, the Bucket of Soldiers was a real thing that Timmy released. They released tons of those buckets with, like, dinosaurs, farm animals, and all other stuff. So it's like, this guy is technically supposed to be this guy right here. Here's an actual Timmy one, even though it's in tan. And then they just went and made their own, which this one looks way more like the one from the figure, or from the movie anyway. So I kind of get why they did that. Great high quality figure though. If you don't have a set of these, it's a must for if you're a Toy Army Men collector. And then right over here, we have this guy. And this guy right here is perhaps one of, if not the oldest Toy Army Minesweeper. This was part of Timmy's original Army Men line back in the 1950s. So basically, it's just a beta version of this guy right here. And talk about a glow up, if we're being honest right now. I wouldn't know what a glow up is, because I am ugly. But yeah, and then finally this bigger gentleman right here. This was actually released in the Burger King toy line. For Toy Story, I actually have all of the Burger King Army Men. They all came in a bag. I bought them still in the bag, and I ripped them open, not realizing it was a 30-year-old Burger King toy. So, Burger King toy collectors, come at me. I dare you. Come on. So, number 1, the Minesweeper. Wow. Does it get any more useless than that? Perhaps if I look in a mirror. So anyway, guys, make sure you follow our subreddit. plastic toy dudes. And as always, make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. And always remember,
Mission accomplished. Well done, men. Pack it up. We're going home.